episode 191, Europe's AI Independence, the Gigafactory Plan.
The primitive forms of artificial intelligence we already have proved very useful.
AI is a golden opportunity.
How do we ensure that this technology is regulated?
The long arc of technological history is now in an extraordinary new phase.
The AI6 podcast with Joanne Sweeney.
Earlier this month, I sat at my desk and watched the State of the Union address with Europe setting out its boldest vision yet for artificial intelligence. In her 2025 address, Commission President Ursula von der Leyen unveiled a €20 billion plan to build 5 AI gigafactories across the EU. Her message was clear: a European AI is essential for our future independence. Hello and welcome back to AI6. I'm your host, Joanne Sweeney, the podcast that helps you upskill in AI with no fuss.
We are massively investing in the European AI gigafactories because these gigafactories support our innovative startups so that these startups can train, develop and deploy their models, their next generation AI models in these gigafactories.
So what exactly is an AI gigafactory and why does the EU need AI independence? Well, this actually was a conversation that we had back in July at Harvard Kennedy School when I was studying there on AI and public policy, because I made the point and it prompted a conversation that right now we are using AI technology from the major players who, let's face it, are either US or Chinese based. With Europe's stringent and strict EU AI Act, I wondered if these companies would comply or if they wouldn't, and then we would be left really with not being able to access the likes of ChatGPT or Copilot or DeepSeek, for example. So the EU is treating AI like critical infrastructure. There's a realization there that it needs to build its own and hence be reliable on its own and not from other jurisdictions. And this does mark a move and a turning point in Europe's long struggle for digital sovereignty. So von der Leyen's speech wasn't short on ambition. The Commission received 76 proposals from 16 member states to host these so-called AI gigafactories. Each site will reportedly house more than 100,000 high-performance AI processors, essentially Europe's answer to the US and Asia's dominance in advanced computing infrastructure. Alongside the Gigafactory plan, the Commission trailed a new cloud and AI development plan, an expansion of the EU-backed open source initiatives, and the creation of a Scale Up Europe fund to stop late-stage tech companies from fleeing abroad in search of capital. In other words, the EU is not just building hardware, it's signalling an entire ecosystem policy funding infrastructure designed to keep AI innovation and talent inside Europe's borders. Von der Leyen framed AI sovereignty as Europe's independence moment. And that language matters. So the EU has long been criticised for being a rule maker, not a rule shaper in technology. The GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, gave Brussels global influence, but it didn't create European tech champions. So this new agenda flips the script. AI gigafactories aren't about regulating Silicon Valley. They're about making sure Europe doesn't have to depend on Silicon Valley in the first place. So think of it as the digital equivalent of energy independence. In the same way the EU invested heavily in renewables and cross-border grids after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it now wants to secure its own data and AI infrastructure. And the Commission isn't going it alone. A joint declaration from 39 European tech leaders landed the same day as the speech, pledging investment in AI sovereignty. The symbolism here is strong. Brussels wants industry on side, not in opposition, as it was during GDPR negotiations. But Europe's private sector has been historically cautious, fragmented and undercapitalised compared to US or Chinese tech giants. So whether this joint declaration translates into meaningful co-investment will determine if gigafactories become functioning assets or expensive ideas. So who gets access? If these gigafactories are EU funded, will they primarily serve research institutions and startups, or will private firms dominate usage? Will SMEs, the backbone of the European economy, ever see the inside of these facilities? Well, I, for one, certainly hope that I do. And we don't want regulation to get in the way. But if its own gigafactories operate under heavier restrictions than those in the US or China, then will they actually attract global innovators, or will that push them elsewhere? So the EU has a lot to think about. So the next phase is site selection, with 76 proposals from 16 countries, as I mentioned. Everybody wants a slice of the pie, but only 5 will win. Meanwhile, the Cloud and AI Development Act will enter consultation, and the Scale Up Europe Fund needs concrete structure. And this is where the real test lies, moving from speech to implementation. So this year's State of the Union address framed AI as Europe's independent moment. Gigafactories are being cast as the backbone of that independence. So let's see what happens. The EU has made a big move on the AI chessboard. The question is whether it can play the game as strategically as its global rivals and win. If you enjoyed this episode of AI 6, please share it with a pro that you know. And if you haven't got a copy of my new book, AI Playbook, then go check out aimarketingplaybook.ie, or for my international listeners, you'll find it on Amazon. I'm Joanne Sweeney. This is AI 6. I'll talk to you tomorrow.